Good morning, whether you are here in the now moment or whether you are listening to this later on YouTube. I want to welcome you here. This is part of Cindy Krupp's An Open Door, and we are grateful to Cindy for providing us this space and this opportunity to discuss Lesson 9 of the workbook from A Course in Miracles. I am your host for the moment, Amy Heibel. It's Tuesday, November 12th. I invite you to just sit quietly, and you can turn your screen off if you would like, and just listen. Just be wherever you are. There's nothing to do, nothing to change, no effort at all here. Just enjoy and be present. You can keep your screen on if you want, or you can turn it off, either way. I see nothing as it is now. Nothing I see means anything. I have given everything I see all the meaning it has for me. I do not understand anything I see. These thoughts do not mean anything. I am never upset for the reason I think. I am upset because I see something that is not there. I see only the past. My mind is preoccupied with past thoughts. I see nothing as it is now. Let your eyes gently close for now if they have been open, and during this reading, you may wish to look around your surroundings with soft eyes, or you can keep them closed and watch with your inner eye. Both ways of doing it are appropriate. This lesson, number 9, follows logically from the ones that preceded it. I see nothing as it is now. We can understand this lesson on at least 2 levels. First, in terms of time. I see nothing as it is now. Everything I think I see brings with it my past experience with whatever it is I see. The coffee cup, the pen, my foot, the rug, the tree. When I look upon it, I bring all my past experience to it. I don't see it as it is now. We can also look at this lesson in a material way. Right now, I do not see the material world as it is, but only as it appears to my limited senses. The body's eyes cannot tell me everything about my world. Indeed, they cannot really tell me anything about my world. I see nothing as it is now. This lesson deepens our journey inward. It is a subtle invitation to begin seeing anew with a different sense, the sense of knowing with the inner eye. Pure knowing is its own light. Awareness is self-luminous. It is what we are made of. Instead of looking for truth in the outer world, we now begin to move our attention inward. Instead of overlooking our essential being, we begin to feel our way into it. But before we can truly remember the light we are, we need to let go of the false belief that the outer world we see holds anything for us, anything that is true about what we are. I see nothing as it is now. This present moment holds all the richness of being. Whether we focus our awareness inward or on the outer world, whether we are using the inner eye or the body's eyes, we are always on the receiving end of what is arising now. We are always on the receiving end of what is arising now. Make no mistake, this is not a passive thing. It is a form of creation. Being in receiving what is arising now is a creative act. Why? Because it is a choice. It is a choice to open. Let's go a little bit deeper. If your eyes are closed, I invite you to open them gently now and look around at your surroundings. Don't focus on anything in particular. Just take it in. Be present. There's no effort in this. Just look around. Receive all that you see in the outer world. Receive what is arising in your awareness now. You may notice that whether your eyes are focused on something close up or in the distance, it is you, your beingness, that receives what is seen right now. You might notice that if you look up close, what is in the distance fades away or disappears. You might notice that if you look in the distance, what is up close shifts out of focus or disappears. Now, with your eyes still open, just shift your awareness gently inward. Still seeing what is on the outside, hold that, even as you focus your attention to beingness. Hold the knowing that you are both what is seen with the body's eyes and what knows it sees. You are both the knower and the known right now. You are both the knower and the known right now. Notice how this feels. I see nothing as it is now. If I believe what I see outside me is not me, then I am not seeing. If I believe that what I see outside of me is not also me, I am not seeing. Only when I know that what I see outside is actually happening inside, and that there is no separation between the two, do I really see. I am what I see. I am that. And that. And that. I am all of that. I am the knower of all of this. And all of it is me and nothing else. I am the knower of all of this. I am the knower. I am. I see nothing as it is now. Today's lesson asks us to reflect during the day whenever the memory arises within us to practice. This lesson asks us to sit and look. Take in everything within your purview. All of it is your kingdom. And all of this kingdom is you. It is yourself arising in your awareness. There is no separation between what the body sees and your inner being. I am that, and I am that, and I am that. I am. Play with this lesson. Have fun with it. And I invite you now to take a few deep breaths. And when you are ready, you can turn your screen back on. And as we all know, notice that everything you see is you. Hmm. I can remember when I first practiced this lesson, I literally went outside and walked along the streets of our town, and everything that I looked at, everything that came into my awareness, I just repeated the lesson. I see nothing as it is now. And it encouraged me to actually look more closely at what I see. So I saw that my red cup actually is a beautiful color of red. And I saw that the light reflects off of it. And I saw the plants in my house with a different color of green. And I looked more closely at it. There's a wonderful woman. She's a scientist. I think she's dead now, and I'm going to have trouble remembering her name. But she was very, very famous for really discovering things about corn. And what she said when she was asked, how did she make these connections, these scientific connections that brought her to really understand the genetics of corn? She said, well, I become the corn. It is really a shift in awareness to take in what we see and realize all of it is happening inside of us. I remember reading Gary Renard's book, The Disappearance of the Universe. I was still of the mindset that the universe was infinite and expanding, and that was God. Thank you, Barbara McClintock is the researcher. I was really surprised that I thought the universe was God and that it just kept expanding and expanding. And the realization that it's in me it took a little bit of getting used to. So as we sit during moments of the day and we take in everything in our purview, as Paul Selig calls it, everything in our kingdom, it is all us. It is all arising within us. this fractal of light that we are. And as we practice that, our awareness expands like the nesting doll. We go from being the innermost nesting doll that is only aware of its tiny self to seeing that there's so much outside of us, that we are within something that is even larger than us, and that all of it is us. The awareness of being happens in the moment, now, in an ever-expanding sense of knowing. We incorporate more and more and more of that which we are aware of as ourself. This is why the sense of knowing never ends. It's infinite. And we are that. That's what I have this morning. Open it up for some discussion. Thank you for being here. David.
I've just been listening and thinking, because I've been reading Byron Katie and Stephen Mitchell it was an audio, and I just finished it. He's talking about the Diamond Sutra, and he says Buddha says that you see a tree, it's not a tree, it's called a tree. And I didn't know what the hell does that mean? But then the more I thought about it, and what you just said now, is like I can put it to words. When I was a little kid, and all little kids probably see something and they see it for the first time. And even as an 81-year-old, I see something for the first time. I go, wow, what is that? And what before, I mean, I would say, okay, I can either Google and find out what that is, and I have named that flower on my phone and whatever it is, and why, instead of just sitting there and just experiencing it and knowing it without a name, I said, wow. What I'm not going to waste that anymore. I'm going to try not to ever do that again, not to waste that, because then I have to categorize it and put it in a box and make it it's okay. It's not a snake. It's a rope, and I'm safe now, or whatever it is. It's just wow. Just see it for the first time and know it, and don't name it. Just I can know something without naming it, and that's. And so I'm going to try to do that a lot from now on. So thank you, everybody, for listening to my crazy rants.
No, that's exactly what this lesson is all about. It's seeing with the eyes of a child. For those of us who have kids or grandchildren, it's kind of knowing this lesson, it's kind of painful to watch them be rewarded for naming things. They're rewarded for remembering things. Right. It's the journey. As a human being, we have to lose ourselves and then find ourselves again, right? Oh, thank you, David. That was great. I know you've all done this lesson before. So what I would invite you to do, if you can, is to share with us how this lesson today is interpreted by you, how you have changed from when you first practiced this lesson to now. Is there anything that comes to mind for you? Rana.
Good morning.
Good morning.
These are new every time. I just have to say that. Oh, because I dropped the idea that I'm supposed to remember something with this, instead of letting it undo the sense of me rather than me doing something by being able to recite it by rote or anything like that. So I'm grateful for that willingness to be open in that way. I really appreciated our quiet time and listening to your very soothing voice. What arose for me was the idea that the body's eyes don't even see anything. You know, that whole thing about, you know, information in the physical world comes in upside down or something, and then it's all blah, 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 blah. So, you know, there's this real sense that the physical eyes are seeing nothing. So what am I seeing with? I'm seeing with a mind that's full of the past, you know, which begins with the label. And then after the label comes the opinion about it. You know, and then after the opinion about it becomes the preference, whether or not I'm going to, you know, try to run the show. You know, so the eyes are just, you know, tapping into that small S self is what it's doing. And that's what's figuring out what is being seen. So this morning, however, it was like, no, now see from the mind, big M, right? And then I heard, oh, words are just so useless. And what came up was see with awareness. And right then is when you started to go into the known and the knower, you know, and that's the same thing. And then the little M mind wanted to try to really wrap the head around what was being said. That created confusion, which there was awareness of. And so the decision was made to back off. I don't know what that means to you, but it just meant maybe let it go and
Right.
just come back into now and listen to what's being said. Don't try to understand it. At that very moment, I looked down at your lesson 9, and that's what it said. This may create a bit of discomfort. You know, just be open to the possibility that you don't really know anything. And then the eyes of the child. I also appreciated being led to see how out of focus things are when I'm focused in. And it doesn't matter about distance or space. Whatever is being focused in on, just, you know, the rest of it is not seen at all. And so there was a little bit of juice there too. So thank you for this experience this morning. This one needed to sit still.
Mm.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rana. That's part of the challenge of doing these lessons, because most of us have done them before. So I'm not reading directly from the book sometimes because the book is really meant for beginners. And so I'm trying to respect those who are present here and bring the lesson a little bit deeper, because I think that's where we are. Yeah. I want to just share something else, unless someone has some thoughts that they want to share. I want to share something else that I noticed this weekend. Let's see if I can find my book. We were asked this weekend in one of the conference classes by Jan Fraser to really contemplate why is it that you wanted to wake up? Why is it? What's your motivation to awaken? What's your motivation to see truly? Hi, Alka. Come on down.
When I first started on the spiritual path and started doing meditation, etc., I asked myself this question: why am I doing this? And I had to ask the question for something like months before the answer popped in my head, which was, I want to go home. And then many years later, I was listening to, I think it was Bill Free, who said, well, home isn't a place where you go somewhere. It's there inside you. So that was my answer from the universe about why I want to wake up.
Beautiful. I think we all probably share that answer. Thank you. I love the color of your scarf. You always are just so coordinated. It's very
Thank you.
pleasing to the eye. I love what I see that you're wearing, Alka.
There was a time where I invested a lot of time into buying coordinated clothes. I haven't done it for like 6-7 years anymore.
It's a gift to all of us who are looking at your color coordination. Thank you.
Thank you.
Michelle,
Good morning.
good morning.
So in answer to your question, I was so tired of, I love what Alka just said about wanting to go home. I agree with you, Amy, that I think we all of us have that deep, beautiful desire, and we are home, but it doesn't feel like it a lot of times. I was tired. I was so tired of suffering, and I was so tired of seeing our sons suffering and my husband suffering, and I knew on some level, and I don't know if it was, I'm sure it was A Course in Miracles that brought me this, or just inner spirit, that if I heal, as I journey, as I heal, as I awaken, I'm not awakened. I'm not healed alone. So anyway, thank you.
That's beautiful. That is beautiful. So the awareness that on some subtle level, that when I awaken, all within my purview awakens as well. Whether that's some seemingly separate person called husband or sons, it's all a part of the one. And my awakening has an effect on the entire kingdom. Right. Thank you. Rana.
Thanks. Thanks, Michelle. Boy, it has evolved and changed, right? The answer to that question. But I think originally was just born out of the statement, I feel trapped. I just want a little joy in my life. That was what was expressed. Now I have the understanding of just, my beingness felt limited and finite and And then the next reason or pull was the idea that I could possibly live without guilt.
Mhm.
That was so appealing, and then to experience peace in stillness, catching a few glimpses of that was like almost addictive, right? It's so alluring, and I wanted more of that. There's the ego, more, so perhaps there was an egoic, but of course, what I've learned is this whole thing is about consciousness just getting to know itself, and I wouldn't want to do anything else than what is happening in this now,
Absolutely.
It's interesting. I know I have a choice not to read or sit still or come to a gathering, right? Those are all freedoms that I have, but those are not the choices I desire today. It's just to be in this. So,
Yes.
thanks.
I appreciate that. I think all of us, and of course captures this so clearly, the idea there must be another way because I'm suffering now. And guilt is really a form of suffering. Very much. And what you just said is it's very similar to what I wrote down, which is that, yeah, I don't think we do have a choice either, because there is no person. There's no person. We are pulled into deepening our awareness. But for the egoic mind, it is to stop the suffering. That's Eckhart Tolle tells us the suffering is a great teacher. It's often the first teacher, right? Sandra, what have you got for us?
Just what you just said. That's why we're all one. When you asked that question, I actually heard that question over the weekend also, and I really searched for the motivation and I couldn't find it. I went inward, I could not find the motivation. And so I am going to say, it just happened. It just happened. And after it happened, there was like, the mind tried to understand. So the mind thought something had been put inside my brain that wouldn't let me go, which was wrong, but that there was this hunger and thirst and drive that I could not get rid of. I found myself in bookstores looking up anything with God in the title. I found myself in a church trying to figure out what happened. In Bible study, I mean, it's just, there wasn't really, I can't think of a motivation. And I wasn't suffering. I suffered later. Or at least I didn't think I was suffering. Let me put it that way. I was having a nice life with my second husband, who I love very much, and my 3 children and career. And after that happened, there was no choice. And it's really hard to describe. It's like, and then once like Rana evolved to, I want more of that. That is an addictive thing. I want more of what happened. And that's been the driver, I guess. If there is a driver, I don't think there is.
I will share with you what I wrote down because it's very similar. The first the first part of awakening for me was there has to be another way. You know, this suffering needs to be alleviated, and I deserve to know what that is. I deserve that. So I started looking, and like you, Sandra, I went into bookstores. I was drawn into teachings. I was drawn to these teachings, and I noticed that the teachings helped to alleviate the suffering. When I was immersed in the teachings, the suffering lessened or became less focused in my awareness. And so I was moved to find the teachers, deepen the teaching and deepen the teaching. And then as I deepened the teaching, I began to realize the truth of what I am. And then I fell in love with what I am. I just fell in love with it. Right? And so that's the motivation. It goes from suffering to the teaching, at least for me, to the teaching, which helps alleviate the suffering, to deepening the teaching, to knowing that I am that love, and then loving that love.
Thank you, Amy.
Thank you, Sandra. David, come to the head of the table.
Congratulations on making it through the whole class without locking up.
You know, thank you for that. I am now connected. I was wireless before, and now I'm directly connected, and I've noticed that I'm not having that freeze. So thank you for that.
That's not, what I want to say is, I was trying to write something down. It's like, what I see is inside of me, and what I am is what I see, and it's not through my eyes. And so I just, and I was going to write something about what what the rest of everything is, but I don't want to think about. I don't want to go to what the ego stuff. And it's almost like, I don't know if I'm losing my mind or losing all my marbles, or there's a couple that fell out, but it's like the other stuff just isn't. It's becoming irrelevant. It's like it doesn't matter. It's just, and one of the things after you just said what you said, it's like the deeper we go, the deeper I go, the simpler it gets. It's not that complicated. And it's just, it's like, oh yeah, now I'm starting to get it. All the complicated stuff is the ego stuff, which is the shallow stuff on the top of the surface. But the deep stuff is just, it's just like, the other day I was my wife Betty said, she said, I need something. And she says, you need to find it for me. So oh my gosh, what am I going to do? What am I going to read? And I read her like lessons 7, 8, and 9. And it was like, oh. And then they were so good reading them out loud. And she's sitting there with her eyes closed thinking, that works. And it's like now going back to the lessons, I didn't even looked at lesson 1 and 2 and 3. Every lesson says everything there is to be said. It's all in there. Maybe it's because we know what comes next, but it like every lesson opens a door, and it opens a little wider, or it opens to another hallway to get to the same place. But everyone says it. Everyone says it all, and it's like, wow, that's really awesome.
Yeah, the whole teaching is multidimensional.
Yeah,
it really is. And as everyone here has said, every time you come back to it, it deepens and expands. So it's deepening and expanding at the same time.
Mm-hmm. And it just open the book and turn to page 367. It's going to say some wonderful thing that I need to know.
Exactly. Exactly.
Thank
Oh,
you.
it's so good. One thing I want to say, Barbara, just before you come in here, don't be afraid to look at the outer world and enjoy it. This lesson isn't telling us not to enjoy what appears in the outer world. Because the enjoyment, it's not the object that we enjoy. It's the joy that arises within us that is the truth. So the red cup isn't the truth. I may enjoy the red cup, but it isn't the red cup that gives me the sense of enjoyment. It's my own inner being, which is just arising now, right? So enjoy the outer world. No. Don't pretend it's not there, right? Thank you. Barbara, what you got for us?
I think when it all, about 2.5 years ago or so, I started to hear a faint noise. I mean, I never used to hear as much as I do now, but this was a faint noise, like a calling, like the ancient song calling you. And about 2 years ago, when I had another MRI, this is going to sound strange, but it was calling me home. All the bang, bang, I didn't hear that. It was like E.T. is calling me. I mean, it was strange, but I experienced that. The MRI went wonderful. A week later, I had to go for another one. It wasn't as strong, but it was still like pulling me. And ever since that, I wanted to know what this ancient song was about. And now I'm always getting called to do this or that, or I just listen to all my little nudges I get from now on because it's telling me something.
Francis Lucille says that not every mystic is a sage, but every sage is a mystic. And that's what, Barbara, for me, you were just pointing to, is the sage, which is you, is also a mystic. You're finding meaning in everything. You're seeing the meaning. You're not finding it. It is arising within your awareness, and you're paying attention to it. That is creation. I want to really say this again. Living in being is creative, right? So creative. It sounds like it's just passive acceptance. That's the egoic mind talking. When we make the choice to rest in being and to allow all that arises in the kingdom, that is so creative, right? That is a very active and beautiful thing. Cindy. What you got?
Wasn't sure Cindy was going to raise her hand. That was kind of waiting to see if it was going to happen. Part of it is I'm having a direct experience. Let's put it that way. I'm in this experience where the speed of the thinking mind is at a different, it's sitting in a different space than the awareness. And from that space, there is the ability to watch whatever the activity happening here is just happening, sort of like a lot of us have said. And then what I get to watch, and I've been calling it the self-referencing eye filtering system instead of ego, whatever. I love that self-referencing eye filtering system. So there's this flow that is just occurring and arriving. And then I'm watching, it's a very cool thing. I'm watching the self-referencing eye filtering system put a meaning and a story to it. But the happening is happening first. So I could tell the story about how I was in massive panic attack and blah, 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 blah. And I got down on my knees one day and I said this prayer and all these things happens, and it will sound like the self-referencing eye filtering system did something and stepped into the flow. But from where I'm sitting right now, I feel very separate from that. It feels more like I am watching that from the viewpoint of the river, telling the story of the stick flowing down it and all the adventures the stick is having. And right now, I'm not identified as the one with severe panic disorder and young kids in a bad marriage and blah, blah, blah. That's the story the stick was having. And I'm watching it going, oh, that's the point where we get to touch it and it'll feel something else. I'm in a, like, it's just extraordinary. Because at the same time, I'm feeling the self-referencing eye filtering system attempting to pull attention into it. Like, pull attention into it. And so there's this pulling and these sensations that are occurring, but it's very cool because I accept that I am more the river, I'm not the stick. I never even saw it that way before, but that's as close as I can come right now, Amy, to responding to that question. It's kind of wildly extraordinary.
Thank you, Cindy. That's a great visual. It's a great visual. My teacher, Zoe Marai, used to use the same stick in the stream metaphor. And what she would say is, I can choose as the stick to try to walk upstream. And that is resisting my moment, being the doer. And I can do that. And I can have fun feeling and experiencing the resistance of the water, the struggle. I can have fun with that. But if I do that, then pretty much I'm always in the same place. My view doesn't change. And I'm always in that same place, trying to walk upstream. But if I am the stick and I just relax and go into the flow of the stream is going to take me wherever it wants to take me. I'm just the stick having the experience of being in the water. And sometimes my little stick might get caught up in some other little sticks. And then I have that experience. But it's all just being the little stick. And I think you're asking us to take it one step further and actually realize I am the stick, but I am the water. I'm really the water and the stick. It's all one thing. Thank you, Cindy. Sandra, come to the head of the table.
So I had this thought that came in. Have you ever seen the movie Close Encounters of the Third Kind?
Oh, I love that. Love that movie.
That was what it was like. It was like I was Richard Dreyfuss trying to build that mud thing in his living room. And he didn't know why. And everybody thought he was crazy. But that's what it was like. It was like it was being done through me, not to me. And I had to keep on going. And there really wasn't any choice. It didn't matter how logical I was, or intelligent I thought I was. It just was just like that movie. That's it.
Oh, thank you. Great metaphors. So Rana says, Michael Langford, awareness, watching awareness. That's about Rupert Spira. When I read that in sort of similar thought with Rupert Spira, that's when I really relaxed, because in this teaching, in this becoming who we are and listening to the teachers, we can get caught up in being aware of being aware. And then the egoic mind will say, well, Can we be being aware, being aware, being aware, being aware, being aware? Right? No, stop it. You can only go as far as being aware and then resting in the awareness that you're aware. Stop it there. Don't go any further. You're good with that. Barbara, what you got for us?
This weekend at the conference, I listened to Angelo, and he gave a guided meditation on the waves in the ocean, which I was riding the waves, but I became more than that. I was a surfer on the waves, riding the waves of life. And I mean, my heart exploded and everything. I was just so excited. I'm finally getting what the wave in the ocean is.
Oh, I love it. Thank you. Thank you.
May I share?
Hi, Livy.
Hey, slow going this morning. What a great meeting. And, you know, what I'm here for and what has been presented to me, thanks to Tarana, is and getting to go deeper into two very significant experiences that I had, with the oneness, and now being able to get a clearer understanding, of not a clear understanding, maybe a clear understanding, beginning to delve deeper into what the hell had happened, because it was just this amazing experience, and it's one that I wanted to go back to, and I don't know that will ever happen, but just being able to talk with people who, have been there, done that, get to share similar experiences with, and just to have the clear reminder on a daily basis of that oneness and the relationship, just being able to delve deeper into what that was and what that is. I hope sorry, Ronna, I hope that made sense. And I just love being with y'all. And this was just wonderful. Thanks so much. I love y'all very, very much.
I love you too. And you that actually brings up something. We only have a couple minutes, but I thought I would share this. Trying to recreate the experience of oneness, that really rings for me. When we are in the meditative state, whatever that is, when we are sitting in silence, when we're sitting in receiving, there will be times when we notice that there's dissatisfaction, right? We'll notice that there's dissatisfaction in the present moment. And there's a question that we might ask ourselves, because the egoic mind is so subtle. So when we're sitting in the present moment and noticing that there's dissatisfaction, is it because there's a subtle seeking, very subtle seeking in the present moment? You're being quiet, you're sitting and receiving, but you notice dissatisfaction. Is it because you're hoping that this present moment brings you the same depth of satisfaction as the present moment that preceded it? Notice whether there is a subtle seeking there. The hope that this present moment will give me some relief from something, some discomfort, something, that it will take me to some better moment that I experienced in the past. And that past could have been just one present moment ago. Right. So Atmananda tells us, if there's dissatisfaction in the present moment, just go into that dissatisfaction and notice again, I am the one who is aware of the dissatisfaction in the present moment. Allow it to be. Don't compare it with the present moment before when there was satisfaction. Just allow it to be what it is. And most of all, don't criticize or judge yourself for having a moment experiencing the dissatisfaction of the present moment. Just let it be. And I notice that we are out of time. So all of this we are doing in the present moment. All of this seeing now. So in the next week, practice, I see nothing as it is now. Be present with what you see and know as much as you can that everything that you see is arising within you. Right? Expand and deepen. Love us.